You've selected a show from the Podcast Jukebox, a DIY podcast network.
It's Will Shawn Podcast. The internet cried out for two more blowhards, and they courageously answered that call. Armed with the weapon of wit, each week they're joined by guests to discuss movies, television, pop culture, and anything else that's pissing them off. Take it away, boys.
I'm Will Link.
And I'm Sean David.
And this is Will Shawn Podcast?
While living in a hut in the backyard. How you doing, Will?
You know...
Back to normal?
Yeah, and I don't like it.
Why?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I was on vacation. Everything was great. I come back. There's work that I have to do. There's emails I have to answer. Everyone's stressed. Everyone's stressed at my job. And I feel extra stressed because I had just been so relaxed. I gotta deal with I gotta schedule things. I gotta everyone. I gotta see everybody.
You can't just go and have bangers and mash and 2 pints of beer in the middle of the afternoon?
I need to figure out a way to perpetually be on vacation.
This is the problem of going on vacation, because there's always at one point in your vacation where, like, you know what? What do I really have back there? Why can't I just pick up and move here? I can make it work here. And you find yourself, like, asking people how much places cost. You know, here, how much it costs to rent an apartment, and in the back of your head, you start getting ideas, but they're not good ideas.
I gotta figure out a way. Let me tell you what, I gotta sell this book that I've written, because that's the only way I could...
Then you can have a flat in London.
Yeah, then I could live
like the
way I deserve.
Ah, yes.
So
as a white straight male in Trump's America.
Exactly. I didn't have to deal with him when I was in England.
Yeah, you just Brexit.
Now I come here, he's throwing paper towels at Puerto Ricans. I don't know what's going on. But you could tell us what's going on in the world of Will Shawn Podcast.
Please make sure you are subscribed to us on iTunes. Give us a star rating. With the new with the new podcast app on iOS 11, it's easier than ever to give a star rating and to leave a little comment on your podcast of choice. So you got no more excuses.
And we should also give a shout out to the network there.
The Podcast Jukebox Network. No, I was about to call it the Off the Cuffs Network. I'm like, nope, that's the show.
I always have to concentrate because I always call it the Jukebox Podcast Network.
No, that's just stupid.
But it's the Podcast
Jukebox Network and all the other fantastic shows on the network.
Off the Cuffs.
Like Off the Cuffs. And others.
And there's also, we should give one more shout out to our good friend Stephen Brandon.
Yes, that he is in New York City, and they are getting ready to start Game of Thrones the musical over there on Broadway. It's called an off-Broadway, but they're actually on Broadway.
They're actually on Broadway.
Yes. So does that mean that off-Broadway is just slightly off-Broadway?
Yes.
Where does it end?
It doesn't.
And also want to congratulate former guest and soon-to-be recurring guest Chris Burgock, whose movie is getting rave reviews. The Florida Project that he co-wrote and co-produced with Sean Baker.
I cannot wait for this film. It got great reviews out of Cannes, and did it play Toronto?
I think so, and Patton Oswalt has called it the best movie he's seen this year so far. And many people are saying that it's making they're already put it on their 10 best of the year lists.
We're gonna get Chris back on the show.
But if it's opening this weekend in New York and LA, if it's anywhere near you, please go see it.
If you liked their last film, Tangerine, which was phenomenal, I'm certain you will like The Florida Project.
It's like Tangerine, but with Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Which would make for a very different experience.
And who's our sponsor this week?
For all those good girls who love their mama, Jesus, and America too. For all the vampires walking through the valley, west down Ventura Boulevard. And for all those poor schmucks living in Reseda with a freeway running through the yard.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
On the show today, Mother got a Cinemascore of an F. We are going to discuss other hated gems that we might like, and maybe figure out whether we liked Mother or not.
Other Mother druthers.
Hugh Hefner died.
Yeah.
The man has a very complicated legacy. We will delve into that. And, I decided to join a new dating app So obviously, I have some complaints.
No, you newly joined a dating app. The dating app is not new.
Yes, it's new for me. Point is, I got some problems. We're going to break it down. But first, we are very excited to have with us today terrific guest, Andy Moon.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Have we put you at ease enough?
Yeah.
Now, Andy, you are a cam girl. Is that the best way that we would phrase what?
Cam model.
Cam model.
Yeah.
Okay. Is to say girl like?
I just prefer cam model.
That sounds more professional.
Yeah.
Will wants to be a cam man.
We'll get into that.
You can.
So I've met you a couple of times, and we've talked a little bit about this, and I wanted to have a discussion about that world and taking on that job here on the show, because we've had people who have done other, like we've had porn stars or strippers and
dancers,
dominatrixes,
yeah.
But this also seems it's within the same world, but it's also has a lot of different nuances to it. But before we dive into that, I always like to get the guest's origin story. Mm-hmm. Are you from Los Angeles?
Yeah, originally, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you grew up here. Did you like living here?
I lived in the most ghetto parts, like Paramount, Compton. So yeah, it's so far I don't really like it, but I'm trying to get out.
Oh, you're looking to get out of LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
It's like move to New York, or is there like?
I really like Chicago. Have you guys been there?
I love it.
I've never been.
And Chicago's amazing, like 5 months out of the year, and then the weather's shitty the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's cold, but I
It's
like
either
it.
too cold or too hot.
It's pretty. It's really beautiful.
I gotta go to Chicago.
Chicago's it's 3.5 hours away. Don't take the red eye though. The red eye to Chicago is a lie, because the flight doesn't leave till about 12:30 in the morning. It's about 3.5 hours long, so you get there, and there's only a 2-hour time difference. So by the time you get there, it's 5:30 in the morning. You didn't sleep, and you're exhausted.
Let me tell you what. Maybe my next trip shouldn't be to some exotic country. It should be to Chicago.
Sure.
So, now, what made you decide to get into being a cam model?
Well, at the time, I really wanted to get into porn because I really like one specific porn star, Riley Reid. Have you guys heard of her?
I have heard of her.
Yeah.
Yes, I read her editorials in The Atlantic.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. She kind of inspired me to go into it, and I was really, really sexual at the time. And then someone kind of just suggested, you should get into camming, and I was like, oh, I don't really like. I hear that it's like kind of hard, so I tried it, and I just fell in love with it, and I've been working it for a year and 8 months.
Now, what, it does seem hard because it does seem like a hustle. It seems like you have to constantly be working you constantly have to, like, be self-promoting. Mm-hmm. But also, we've had porn stars on the show, and it's interesting because so many of them have talked about how that world has changed too and became much more self-promoting in the age of the internet and Twitter and stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of the stuff you're probably doing would translate well to what they're doing as well in a weird way.
Yeah, I feel like the porn industry might be getting taken over by the cam industry because a lot of cam models, they kind of like do their own porn and it's kind of just DIY. You don't have an agent, you're your own boss. So I can see why it looks really appealing for porn stars.
Because you can just sell clips and you can just sell.
Yeah, you're your own person.
But wouldn't that then push the porn industry the opposite direction where it almost seems like they could become more, lavish isn't the right word, but just more scripted, more fantastical in their productions, because that's something that you're not going to get necessarily with a cam model.
Yeah.
But then again, the money that it would take to do that in porn, they might not be willing to spend.
Okay.
I don't know. But let me ask you this. Like, this seems like...
Sorry.
So obviously, I wanted to do a little research for this episode. So I said, you're on a site, it's like My Free Cams.
Mm-hmm. My Free Cams.
And I went to the site, and there are a lot of girls doing this. So how competitive of a world is this?
Oh, it's so competitive. And it's even getting even more competitive because the top models, they're always competing to win number one. My Free Cams has kind of like a hierarchy where the top 10 models get the most money, and the top, it's just the higher you go, the more money you make. So it's really, really competitive.
And I imagine they also get prime billing on the site and, all that. So it kind of feeds into itself.
Because you go to the site and there's a wall of women. Now I clicked
no different than the podcast hustle.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not that far off. I mean, here's the thing. All hustles are the same, especially with the internet. It's all the same thing of we have to try to break through all the noise. But so I guess the question I have for you is like, how's it going?
For me, it's bumpy. I mean, I have my personal life that always gets in the way. But that's why I really love this job, because it's just my own schedule. I have free time.
Well, do you find, like, is there a good time of the day to like, because I'd imagine, like, 9 to 5, a lot of people who might want to watch you might be working.
But if they're in different time zones, though.
But different time zones.
Get those Hawaii people.
You get people in London watching you.
Yeah, I have a lot of UK people.
I didn't think about this while I was in London.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you find that there's like a certain time that's best to, like, if there's UK people, because they're on like an opposite schedule of us, do you find that you have to schedule around where you're getting the most, or you're more like, hey, if you guys want to see me, you gotta just come when I'm on?
I think it all depends on the model, like the time that works best for her, I just kind of cammed like different time zones, and whatever I make the most money, the time I make the most money, I kind of just stick with that schedule. Okay. And if it stops working, I just kind of change it up.
Now, you're on My Free Cams, but I imagine there's different sites that do this. So is there anything to stop you from being on multiple sites and trying to cultivate different fan bases, or is it too small of a world for that?
Well, I tried like this other cam site, and it just seems like My Free Cams is a little more like focused on personality, and so it kind of makes people gravitate toward it when they're like just looking for friends,
Well, now this is my next question, because I was wondering how you build an audience. So I clicked on some of these girls, and it wasn't all like, it wasn't always like sexual, if you know what I mean. It was like there was a girl and she was topless, but she was like talking about comic books. And I'm there like, oh, topless girl talking about comic books. And I was listening to her talk about this. So is it really, with a site like this, more about, I'm going to cultivate, like, I'm going to get, for example, this comic book girl, I'm going to get all the geeks who love comics are going to want to come and see me talking about this, and then she'll, do what she does. And she's built up that fan base. Like, do you have to find like niches, or is it literally you just put your personality out there and hope like these people just want to spend time with me? Like, how much of your personality are you putting out there?
I think whatever, like the cam model, like whatever she likes, like if that model really likes comics, then she's gonna like focus in on that, because she knows a lot of people on the internet, are nerdy, or like comics, anime, stuff like that.
So you're really into Civil War figurines. You lovingly paint each, division of Confederate soldiers. Yes. That's your thing.
Well, I really like I said, I really like watching movies, so I mostly talk about movies, or, that's kind of like my thing, I guess.
No, this is probably going to sound...
I feel like you'd be signing up to this.
I know. I want to watch the girl who talks about movies.
There's a lot of us.
This is good to know. But, my next question then was, how are you... Like, it's My Free Cams. Mm-hmm. Free. Like, I noticed when I was, like, clicking on these people, I'm like, oh, I'm watching this...
a la carte?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So... how do you make money off of it, I guess? Is it just because I was feeling, for a minute there, then I was feeling a little guilty. I'm watching this. Is it that then you just rely on people like just are nice and want to give you money?
Well, you have to kind of gain a fan base first. Like, you kind of like talk, and you kind of like, people kind of start talking back to you. You make friends. They become regulars. They start tipping you regularly. And yeah, that's the whole point of, it might be free, but you're still going to get paid if you have friends and regulars around.
And they do this by buying coins or tokens through the site, and then they can just like tip you coins and tokens.
Yeah, so how does that process work? Because I see you tweet sometimes where it's like, oh, for like 100 tokens, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean, 100 tokens? Like,
well, each token is 10 cents, and the company gets 50% of it, so I get 5 cents. They get 5.
Wait, the tokens are only 10 cents?
You should go buy some tokens while you be token rich.
Well, no, but that seem, honestly...
You're like, why don't they just make them $1?
I don't know, but that seems like a deal to me. I don't know why people aren't just...
Until they ask you for 25,000 tokens for something. All of a sudden, it's not so much of a deal.
Well, what are the incentives? Because I sometimes see you tweet like, oh, if I get this for this many tokens, like you could get this, or this'll happen, or like what are the incentives?
Well, it's all about like getting as many people to do it as possible, so that way you can like finish up your goal for the day. Have a 0 token day, or like a day where you don't make any money, where you actually make money instead of none.
So how many tokens would be a good day that you get?
For me, it's 4,000 tokens, which is $200, and that's a really good day for me. Other than that, other days, usually about $150 or $100, and I don't work that much.
Okay. Okay.
Now, is there a back channel where you can communicate with other cam models on the site, or you're all just existing in your own little Hollywood square?
What do you mean?
I don't know, like, is there any interaction between you and the other girls? Like, once you are signed up as a model on the site, do you have a way to communicate with the other girls that isn't what a normal user would see or experience? Or are you just there and you have your own login and that's it? You just kind of exist in your own little space on the site?
Well, if a model, she can create her own account too as a member.
Okay.
And so she can come into your chat room and just talk to you,
Okay, but there isn't a way to like a forum or something to talk shop or share ideas, things like that?
Yeah, there's stuff like on Reddit.
Okay.
Now, what's your typical communication with the guys? Because I could see they could like type things to you. There's like
it's a chat
feed.
room.
It's a chat room. So, like, what's your relationship with a lot of these guys who are writing to you?
It's actually different with each member. I mean, most of them, I feel like an online girlfriend. And then there's other days where I feel like a therapist.
Now, do you think that's because the nature of, like, these cam models, as opposed to, say, like, you watch a girl in a porn, and she's playing a part. And she's acting and she's having sex and you're watching this and maybe getting off on this. But with you, they can develop an actual relationship, and you are giving more of your personality than you would in porn. So I guess that's probably why they respond that way.
Yeah, it's good to like be friendly. I try to this is my job, so I might as well make friends and have fun with it.
Do they ever, though...
Does it get out of...
does it get out of hand?
Yeah.
Do boundaries get crossed with these people writing you, either in stuff that they want you to do, or...
How many men have left their wives for you?
0.
The night is young.
Are there situations where you kind of like have to shut someone down, like
trolls? You mean?
Do you get trolls in the chat rooms?
Every now and then, but it's kind of fun to play with trolls.
Well, what would a troll? Because in my mind, a troll in like a cam model chat room would be like someone coming in there being like, you're going to hell, find Jesus kind of thing. But like, is that what trolling in a camera?
Yeah, I've gotten some guys like that, or like I get people calling me like anorexic, but I just kind of laugh it off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
Well, it's the same way they treat everything on the internet when they go to something where they don't like it as much. Like you can criticize anyone and anything on the internet. I'm sure that people just go in there to be like.
Not our fans though.
Yeah, not our fans.
They're all saints.
Our fans are wonderful people who will all go. Who else will probably go check out a lot of your camp stuff. The off the cuffs people. I'm sure they'll be all about this episode. So you had mentioned this started with a desire to get into porn. Is that still a desire you have, or are you just happy being a cam model?
Honestly, I'm really happy being a cam model. But eventually I'd like to move on to something else.
Now, Sean mentioned before about like interaction with the other girls. Like, have you ever like another cam girl, like you guys teamed up and like tried to like, we can make a ton of tokens if we make a video together or something like that?
Yeah, I've actually met one of my best friends through there, and my roommate, she was just, I kind of entered her chat room because she had like really bright pink hair, and we started talking. We had so much in common. She's Latina and she's hairy and she's vegan, so we just kind of hit it off.
Because you're vegan.
Yeah, I'm all those things.
And let's talk about. We were talking about niches before, because one of your appeals is your like kind of naturalness, right? You're not like, we say hairy, but you're not like covered in like.
No,
explain to the people. Explain to the people.
I just don't shave anything, and I noticed that like for some reason guys really like that, so I just kind of kept it.
Oh, I guess there's a certain. Well, it's funny. There was like, we could talk about this a little bit when we get to Hugh Hefner, maybe. But you look at like Playboy through the years, and back in like the 70s, everyone was fine with like a lot of pubic hair, and then all of a sudden it's like there should be no pubic hair, which actually I feel that's way the other extreme, and it's like, there should be. There should be something there. I don't want to be like, it's like, otherwise it gets too creepy. That's just me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want the.
There's a famous story about this was in the mid-50s. It was an Oxford professor of ancient Greek and ancient, the classics professor. And on his wedding night, he apparently came storming out of the marital bedchamber because he had lived his whole life in academia and had done nothing but study ancient Greek sculptures, and was not aware that women actually have hair down there, and thought there was something wrong with his wife.
What?
Yeah.
That guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Now I noticed I noticed your feed is blocked here in California. So you can block, like, how does that work? You can block what the states.
You can just block whatever region you'd like. Like, I have a lot of family in Mexico, so the entire country is blocked.
You don't want them accidentally stumbling upon.
Exactly, yeah.
You're like, I don't need that phone call.
Yeah. It's kind of a secret right now.
I was about to ask, so does anyone in their family know what you do, or?
No one.
Okay.
At the moment.
Can I ask what they think you do?
They think I work at a restaurant.
Okay. That's a good all-purpose, unless one day they say, oh, we want to come in and visit you at the restaurant.
They won't. They think I work at a vegan restaurant, so they're kind of grossed out by vegan food.
Perfect.
That would be the way to keep me away. Like, oh, the vegan restaurant, well, I guess I'm not eating there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, yeah. You've thought of everything. Okay, so that this our region is blocked off.
Mm-hmm.
But for our fans in New York.
But fans everywhere else. And we do have a lot of New York listeners. So they would have no problem. They would go right to your thing. And
I have a lot of New York friends, actually. A lot of fans over there.
So what are some of the typical messages you get when people are writing? I mean, we kind of joked about like maybe some terrible people saying terrible things, but what's typically stuff people are saying to you?
Typically, we're just talking about our day, like stuff we did, work, friends, family.
Oh, so it really is like...
It's like a normal job.
I mean, this is like... sounds so wholesome. And it kind of is in a weird way. Mm-hmm. You also get sent gifts and stuff, right? Sometimes?
Yeah, I have a wish list.
So how does that work?
So I just kind of have a wish list, and my address is private, and they just kind of buy me stuff, and it comes to my door.
Yeah, you can do this on Amazon. Like, you want my wish list? I'll give you my wish list. You can buy me stuff.
You have a wish list?
Well, it's mainly for stuff that I want to buy. It's how I keep track of things I want to purchase. But I can give you, if you put in my email address on Amazon, look at my wish list, because it's not private or blocked or anything, and you could just order me stuff off my wish list.
I don't think I'll be doing that.
Well, you could. Just saying, I need a shower head.
Let me tell you what, Andy, this sounds like a really good job. I was complaining about my job at the start of this episode. I wish I could do this job. Now, I know I can't, because nobody wants to see me sitting around in my underwear talking about movies.
You never know. I mean, try it.
Yeah, well.
Are there guys who do this?
Yeah,
that's more like probably for homosexual men.
You'll get a lot of like men viewers, but hey, it's a job.
Money. Mm-hmm. It's a living.
You know what? I'm not having sex with these men. I don't mind like touching myself in front of a bunch of gay men online.
Do it.
I know you got a camera built into your computer.
If it makes me money.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make me money, then I'm gonna have a problem with it. Who wouldn't want to see all this? And to the listeners at home, I just multiple times caressed my torso.
I don't know, Will. You don't know till you try it.
That's
now. So are there cam models that are couples, or where? So what are like the ranges here for how explicit they can get? Are there couples that'll just have sex on camera for tokens, or it doesn't go that far?
Well, it depends on the site. Like, there's sites where you can be boy girl, and then you kind of get tips to do stuff, tip to make out, tip to fuck. Yeah. Okay. That's how it works.
That seems, so you can really, have you ever, like, with your audience been like, well, if I get to this token amount, if you guys throw in enough money, I'm going to do whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's how it is on a daily basis.
Okay, so like, what are you building up to? Let's really entice the listener here for a second. What are you building up to? Like, what is something that like you would say like, oh, if I get like 1,000 tokens today, I'm gonna do this?
Well, usually I kind of start slow. Like, I like to tease a lot. I like to dance, and I'll have a countdown. Like, oh, if I get 1,000 tokens, I'll take my top off, and then eventually I'll be naked, and I'll do a countdown for like a public cum show, and then reach it, and then do it, and then
a public cum show.
Yeah, that's where I just masturbate for them after I reach my goal.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, and is that what typically? So, and that's basically the daily routine of the site.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the daily routine, or it depends on the model, because some models are like non-nude.
Non-nude.
Mm-hmm. And you can do that.
Are they bringing in a lot of tokens?
I've seen some, yeah.
Huh.
Now Will's very confused.
Well, it's like, here's the thing. I would enjoy watching a pretty girl talk about movies, but given the choice between a pretty girl taking her clothes off and then masturbating talking about movies, and giving a girl just, if I'm on one of these sites.
It's the presupposition to all of this.
Yes, exactly. So how do people find you on the site?
You can look up tags, because I have my tags. It can be like hairy, Hispanic, small, skinny, just it depends on like what you are. So the tags matter a lot.
Okay, and what is the site? Like, what is your handle? Like, how do they, where can our listeners go to see you?
If they don't live in California.
If they don't live in California.
If you don't live in California, you can just look up mfc.im/Andy_Moon.
And if they do live in California, they could at least still follow you on Twitter, where I will say you also post some photos to gear up to getting online. You give like, I'm going to be online, this, and there's a photo. And, you know, sometimes your feed is the reason why I don't launch Twitter on my work computer.
Yeah.
So how do they, where can they find you on Twitter?
My handle is xvxandy.
Okay. So, Andy, you are a big movie fan, as you've mentioned. Have you seen Mother? It seems like a movie you would have seen.
Yeah, I actually really liked it.
You really liked it.
I'm so ashamed of liking it, but I did.
It got an F Cinemascore.
Explain what Cinemascore is.
Cinemascore is a company that basically, on opening weekend, they go to the theaters, and when you exit the theater, they ask you, like, what'd you think of the movie? Would you mind filling out this card? And they base, and the audience grade it, and then they give kind of like what the overall grade that weekend, what audiences thought of this movie. Sean, you and I, only once, I've gone to the movies literally thousands of times, and only once have I ever come across a Cinemascore people.
For Anomalisa.
Yeah, you and me walked out and they asked us what we thought of Anomalisa. Have you ever seen Anomalisa?
No, I haven't.
You should see it. I think you'd like it. We loved it.
Yeah.
Although I'm convinced we're probably the only two people.
No, but it did end up with a high Cinemascore. It ended up like an A- Cinemascore or something.
So those people knew what they were getting into, saw it.
So yeah, a lot of what Cinemascore's grading is they're really looking at, did the movie that the people just saw match the movie that was sold to them through advertising, trailers, all the rest?
Because that's what you set your expectations on. Now, going into Mother, what were your expectations of Mother?
Honestly, I thought it was something like Rosemary's Baby.
That's what they really sold. There was even a billboard that it had her face just like Rosemary's is, like kind of the horizontal, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
well, there is a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like 20 minutes.
I really liked it. What do you guys think?
I did not like it. And I'm not one to I like a weird film, and I'm not one who's like,
now, why
set
did
expectations.
was it because it was not what you wanted out of the movie, because of subject matter, because of the presentation? What about it really turned you off? And did you like the first half and then change your opinion as the second half unwound, or did you not like it like 20 minutes
I had very mixed feelings about this movie. Well, first of all, it hurt that I saw it by myself in a foreign country, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it immediately after.
You weren't in Mongolia.
Because this is a movie that, as I've talked about it, this is a movie I feel like when you walk out of, you need to vocalize your thoughts on it before you understand how you really feel about it. And when I watch the movie, I'm like, this is interesting. And then I kind of changed thinking, this is interesting, but it's also kind of garbage. And then I went all the way to garbage. Because the allegories are so heavy-handed. And it really is, to me, it's Bible the movie.
Well, let me ask you, are you a religious man? No, John Huston made Bible the movie.
I know.
Yeah.
I am not a religious man, but I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
Darren Aronofsky, I know, is a religious man.
Well, he reads books about religion.
He's religious obsessed.
Yeah.
His last movie was Noah, about Noah, and it was terrible.
I think Noah Baumbach should make a movie called Noah.
I just around and I've heard other people say this, but it was the same for me, around the brother killing the other. We're going to spoil things.
Yeah.
Since Andy's seen it, we don't have to worry about ruining it for her, and we don't care about you listeners. Around when the brother kills the brother,
Actual Gleason brothers.
That's when it snapped in my head, like, oh, this is Cain and Abel. Oh shit, this has all been the Bible.
Yeah, you didn't figure that out at like.
No.
Oh, see, I was onto it from second one, and I was like, ooh, this is interesting. Yeah, that was okay.
And it evolved into madness that looked good. It was good looking madness, but I don't know if it meant anything, and that's why I'm annoyed by it.
Well, if you don't know what it means, at least Darren Aronofsky has done 500 interviews after the movie to explain himself.
Well, what did you think the movie meant?
Well, I knew like the mother. She's like Mother Earth, Michelle Pfeiffer. It's like, and the guy is like Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the writer, him, it's like God.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I thought that was cool.
I've also heard, you mentioned Mother Earth, and I heard that there's a he's said a lot that it's an allegory for climate change.
It's not.
I don't see this at all. Do you see that at all? Other than her maybe being Mother Earth, but I don't see this climate change analogy.
I see it. I mean, it's like the house is the world, Earth, and then the humans come in and they just kind of destroy it.
Okay, I guess I can see that. But
I enjoyed it while I was watching. I was laughing at how ridiculous it was. People in the theater did not get the movie they thought they were going to see, and people were audibly and visibly upset, and at least 2 people walked out of the movie. People were shrieking, like, especially as Jennifer Lawrence gets the shit kicked out of her.
No one walked out of my theater, but I was in a packed theater, and you could tell by the energy, like, they did not know what to make of this.
Those Brits survived the Blitz.
That's why they didn't walk out.
Yeah, they're made of steelier stock.
Yeah.
I thought for sure when the baby is killed and eaten, people would walk out.
I was squirming. Let me see.
I was laughing because I knew that was coming.
You knew that was coming?
Of course they're going to sacrifice the baby and rip it apart. I knew.
Yeah. I didn't know they'd... Okay, I figured that baby was a gunner. I didn't think they'd rip it apart.
Yeah, I knew that we'd eat the baby because that's what you do. They gotta...
The body of Christ.
Yeah. And the parts of the movie... So the longer I've thought about it after I've seen it, and the more I've listened to a lot of podcasts about it, I am liking it.
All on Slate.
Yeah, I have liked it less and less. No, I did NPR as well. And a lot of it boils down to... there's no characterization. These are not characters. They're not well-rounded human beings. So you just have to tack symbol and allegory onto these characters, but there's not enough there to hold it up. And then when you start scratching below the surface, it just becomes this really misogynistic film about this really abusive man and this
God.
God, Javier Bardem, who just sidelines and emotionally terrorizes her for the entire movie.
God, the ultimate misogynist. Am I right? Am I right, Andy?
You're right.
The movie almost would have been interesting if they had flipped. I mean, if you had flipped the Javier Bardem and the Jennifer Lawrence character, I know it wouldn't have worked. You're dealing with a completely different film now, but I don't know.
He should have the baby.
Yeah. So
Make Bardem have the baby.
friendo.
Yeah, I don't know. The movie didn't
It's kind of ugly looking. It's also kind of an ugly movie. It really is.
I find the problem is I find the analogy completely on the nose and totally muddled simultaneously, which is
it's overstuffed and too thin simultaneously at the same time.
Now, I was looking at movies that have gotten cinema scores in the past of F, and I noticed some that jumped out at me were I Know Who Killed Me, the terrible Lindsay Lohan movie. You ever see that?
Mm-mm.
Don't. It deserved an F.
All right.
One movie I liked, Killing Them Softly, got a cinema score of an F with Brad Pitt. Do you remember that film?
Which one was that? I don't think I saw it.
That's with him and Ben Mendelsohn's in it.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I didn't see it. Although
Gandolfini's in it.
Did Only God Forgives get an F?
No.
Or Neon Demon?
No, but let's talk about this. So now my next question, this was kind of the question I think I really want to ask you. Like, this movie is like, the audience reviled this movie. They hated it so much. So I was trying to think of other movies that audiences have seemed to dislike, but I've really liked. I mean, clearly Mother could be one for you. I don't know if you have any other ones that it's like, audiences hate this, but I really like it.
Wasn't Pink Flamingos like that?
Pink Flamingos, it's interesting you bring up, because I wrote down John Waters, because I'm a big John Waters fan. And Pink Flamingos, I think Pink Flamingos is reviled by, like, normal people. But, like, in the 70s, it had such a cult. But John Waters, like, over the years, people don't respond to his films like they used to, but I still do. Like, I love a movie like Cecil B. Demented and things like that. I love Pecker.
I love Pecker, yeah.
Pecker, I think, is one of his best.
I love that movie.
It's such a great film. But Yeah, audiences don't care for it. I'm a big fan of Todd Solondz. Have you seen? I think you'd like his stuff. Yeah, you strike me as someone.
Yeah,
who would like
you gotta
being
dip
a John
into this.
Waters fan. He did this movie, and this one was, I mean, revered by critics and stuff. Have you ever seen the movie Happiness? Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it.
Oh, I've always wanted to watch
So
that.
good.
It is one of my favorite films of all time. I will, if you do not watch this on your own, I will make you watch it.
I want to see that.
Yes, I think you would really love it. But he's made a few films, like his film last year, Wiener Dog, which I
didn't see.
loved. But it's another one of those movies that audiences, like, does not get a good cinema score. Probably because audiences don't care for what happens to the wiener dog in the movie. Not to give too much of a spoiler, but that is a moment of something horrific that happens on screen that caused me to kind of laugh.
Does it end up splattered on a wall?
Close. Very close. But that was a moment that caused me to kind of laugh hysterically at this horror because I knew it was upsetting everybody else. Maybe that's the sick fuck I am. And another director you mentioned, Only God Forgives,
Yeah.
Nicholas Winding Refn, is a filmmaker that I really like, but nobody liked Neon Demon except maybe me and maybe you.
Yeah, and I love Only God Forgives. I think it's fantastic.
Have you seen
What was that about again?
Neon Demon?
No, Only God Forgives.
That was Ryan Gosling living in Thailand, and he's in his mother, played by Kirsten Scott Thomas, is like one of the heads of the Taiwanese underworld, and he's like a gangster, and it's really fucked up.
And he barely says a word in the movie.
Yeah, I don't think he says like 5 words the entire movie.
Yeah.
And there's lots of violence, and it plays out like
There's an Oedipal thing going on.
yeah,
too.
it plays out like a scrappy. What does he do? He's a cage fighter, isn't he? He's like, yeah. It's a beautiful, fucked up, kind of boring but fascinating movie, and really upsetting. And Ryan Gosling just being like, "Oh, I'm a movie star. Okay, I'll show you what a movie star can do."
And I love the Neon Demon.
Yeah.
I like that even more.
But
Actually.
she's also a movie star. She just has
Elle Fanning.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she's getting to that level.
Did you see Neon Demon? Oh, we're walking away with a list because I think you'd like this movie too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All these movies are better than Mother, in my opinion. But Neon Demon's about like the fashion industry, and it's
Also really upsetting and beautiful.
really upsetting. So what are some? I mean, we kind of talk. Do you have other ones?
Well,
that-
I mean, the movies I like, my beloved movies are like Alexander,
Oh, I knew you were going to say Alexander.
Kingdom of Heaven,
You
but
like
the director's cut. I will.
you like all these like high budget. We
I like
spent
big
way
swings.
too much money
Yeah.
on this spectacle that doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
like that's your like if they spent like $200 million
I'm in.
on a movie that takes place in like ancient.
It doesn't matter.
yeah.
You got me.
Yeah, you're.
I
in.
love the movie. What's his name? The guy who did shit. It wasn't the Clash of Titans movies. It was the other one by the director who did. He did The Cell.
Immortals.
Yeah,
Was
Saw.
it?
That was another good one. Yeah,
I saw the cell.
yeah. Cell was good, and then he did the movie after that with the little girl that was shot all over the world. It was like a fable. That was a beautiful movie. That was also really good. Tariq or something like that. Tariq Singh. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And then he did one of the 2 Snow White movies that came out that one year.
Fuck those Snow White movies. Oh, he did that other one.
did the one with Lily
Mirror.
Collins,
I didn't
yeah.
see that one.
And Julia Roberts.
I wish I had seen that one instead of the fucking Kristen Stewart Snow White and the Huntsman bullshit. I hated that.
Well, here's the thing why I like these, and just kind of quickly, with a lot of indie films, they tend to be operating on these smaller budgets, so there's only so much crazy they can squeeze out of their budget. They tend to be smaller stories that are all shot handheld, and so it either takes an indie filmmaker with a singular vision that can really squeeze every penny out of what they're doing, like a Todd Solondz, or someone like Darren Aronofsky, where they're kind of dealing with this $30 million budget, where they can get a little wild and crazier. It's otherwise most good, interesting indie films tend to be things like the Dardanelle Brothers, or it's just a lot of people standing in rooms and talking with a quirky soundtrack. No one's gonna ride or die for Safety Not Guaranteed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's
but no
not
one's
it's
gonna write
not
it
polarizing
down.
people's opinions that much. So that's why Nicholas Winding Refn, he manages to get some U.S. money, he gets some international money, so he's got enough where he can just be like just fucked up enough and get his vision on the screen the way he wants it without breaking the bank.
It's like how David Lynch, all his movies have a lot of French money in them.
Yeah, exactly. Or Oliver Stone at this point, who can't get a penny out of the U.S. market. So those are the kind of movies I like. Or it's the opposite, where it's like, here, Ridley Scott, here's $200 million to make a Egypt movie, which is going to be terrible.
Do you like David Lynch?
Honestly, can't stand him.
Really?
Yeah.
Will's going to kick you out now.
Yeah, I don't like Twin Peaks. I'm sorry.
You do not need to apologize for that. You do not need to apologize for that. You're in a safe space.
Thank you.
But like, look what happened. They gave David Lynch a bunch of fuck you money. He made Dune, and that was the last time he got a lot of fuck you money.
That was a long time ago.
Well,
and Dune's probably his worst movie.
Well, after that, he was making The Straight Story.
I like The Straight Story.
No, it's not Dune.
So Hugh Hefner died. And I was kind of not glad he died, but I was kind of like, oh, he died on the week we have someone who works in like the sex industry on here. So I guess before we get into this, man had a complicated legacy because on one hand, a lot of people could say he exploited women throughout the years or set up these standards that are unattainable for women and men's expectations and stuff like that. But he also helped really usher in a lot of the sexual revolution. He, he fought for abortion rights, civil rights. He employed a lot of black writers. So
comedians to perform at the mansion.
Yeah, so it is kind of, I think, a gray area. I think everyone who is like suddenly turning him into a saint, back off. But all the people who were like coming for his like head, back off too. Like I really believe there's a middle ground. How do you, as a woman who is in this industry, how do you feel about him?
Well, before this interview, I kind of read up on him. I don't really know much about him other than that he like owned the bunny, Playboy bunny thing. But I just hear like really terrible things. How he was into bestiality.
Bestiality?
Yeah.
You must have been reading the wrong articles, Will.
What article was this?
He did have a zoo on the property.
He did have a zoo. They're like peacocks running around all over the place.
Apparently, he would like put like bestiality comics in the magazine.
Oh.
But I guess it was his thing. And I heard that he like somehow got Bill Cosby into his mansion. He would like rape the girls.
Yeah, I'm sure Cosby raped some women in that mansion. Like, that's not good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because they were like buddies. Even if...
Well, he is admitted to have giving the girls Quaaludes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
Hugh Hefner lived 25 years too long. That was if he had died in like 1992, he would have gone down as I don't know, was that 25 years ago? I can't do math.
But that's about right.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
he would have gone down as some sort of paragon of sexual politics and this, this beloved man who broke down all these barriers and all these walls for women. In the last 25 years, just got old and creepy and increasingly more
Well, is it also because he got old and he still kept around these young women, and even the optics of it is just somewhat upsetting. And these women were kind of stuck there, too, at the mansion. Like, I used to work for the E! Network, and we would air The Girls Next Door. And it's like, it's almost like a wacky comedy. These three girls and Hugh. But then when all of them eventually left Playboy, you started reading these interviews with them, or they published books, that's like, oh, that was creepy.
And there was dog shit everywhere, and you'd have these, like, forced orgies. And I saw a great tweet that said, Hugh Hefner's first wife was named Mildred, and his last wife was named Crystal.
Yep.
Which basically gives you the span of his life experience.
Funny.
Do you, so, Hugh Hefner not a fan?
No.
But do you see, I don't know, do you see any good or anything benefit from, like,
The Playboy Empire?
Well, that, from Playboy starting to say... Because, I mean, you could connect dots socially from Playboy starting to what you do today.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that he... You know, it's kind of hard to like him after I saw that stuff, you know? Yeah. So I just kind of back away from that.
Yeah, he sold men this lifestyle, which was... And he lived a cartoon life a little bit, you know?
In the world, you know...
Have you ever talked to people that went to the Playboy Mansion? I know plenty of people here in L.A.
Yeah.
And they always tell you the same story where it's kind of disappointing when you get there, and it's a little skeezy, and after about an hour, you realize that the girls are operating on the same kind of schedule, the way that the characters at Disneyland do, where it's like from 12:15 to 12:30, Mickey's going to be over by It's a Small World, and then and you just watch it. It was very easy to pierce the fantasy.
The banality of sexuality, as you like to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It's beyond just socially, like he died 25 years too late. Even pornography changed. Like the internet changed everything, because now you can go online and you can watch Andy. So why am I ever going to go to like Playboy? You know, it changed. Do you remember when we were kids, Sean?
Yeah.
Pornography.
Yeah, there was always, you'd get that Playboy, you'd find it under some,
There was always, like, porn in the woods.
Yeah.
Andy, you were too young to understand this. But I swear to God, when we were kids, like, there was porn in the woods.
And there was someone who would always know where it is, and it was in, like...
And all the neighborhood kids, no one would just steal that porn. We would leave it under, like, the fucking, like, rock in the woods. And as the years would go on, it would get ratty and wet and disgusting.
But you'd still look into it.
And no one thought of, like, updating it, so it was always, like, 6 years old. Yeah.
It was porn in the woods. I don't know why. I don't know who put it there, but that's...
It was always someone's older brother.
Yeah, I guess so. But that was a thing. Now, kids these days, they don't need porn in the woods. They got fucking iPhones.
Well, I'm sorry, are you nostalgic for a bygone era?
I would like to have a child one day, and I would like that child to discover pornography the way I did, in the woods, with his friends, not through some fucking...
Because you forgot to install an app on his phone.
Yeah.
And now he's 8, and he found stuff
Not like going to Pornhub or something like that. Let me ask you another porn question, actually, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
So, we developed these very misguided, semi-puritanical porn laws here in California with condoms and stuff like that, or in LA with condoms, stuff like that. Does stuff like that affect you? Like, are there laws that, like let's say you wanted to, on your cam, have sex with a guy. Would he have to put on a condom? And if he doesn't, would you be in violation of some law?
I think a law like that was going to pass like last year, but it didn't. So
yeah, I don't think it went into effect.
Yeah, it didn't.
Something happened. I think it got overruled, or I don't think it's in effect.
It's not in effect?
I don't know. You're just watching the wrong porn.
I just always hear that, like, the industry's driven, they're always passing all these laws against, like, sex workers and things like that, and I just wondered if it affected the cam world. So.
Well, you're going to jail.
I think it was gonna affect us, and like that we had to put condoms in our dildos.
Really? Wait, that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I want to get dildo pregnant.
You'd have to put condoms on the... Why?
I'm not sure. Sanitary reasons, I think.
It's your dildo.
You can still get a UTI if it's dirty.
Yeah, but
that's on you for not watching.
Yeah, that's on you for not watching. That's the thing. Personal responsibility, people.
Very important.
Like, and here's the thing. What drove me crazy about that law, and that law is insane, but you shouldn't be able to regulate what people do sexually like that. I mean, what consenting adults do sexually. I modified it.
Oh, good. Speaking of consenting adults.
So, as many of our listeners know, I do not have Facebook. I famously do not have Facebook. I don't want it, especially in this political climate. In general, I'm very happy with this life decision, but it caused some unintended consequences. The main one being I was never able to join Tinder. Tinder, you needed like your Facebook account to log into it. It was this whole thing. And I would hear tales from my friends that you just swipe right and there are thousands of women all dying to have sex with you. And here I was, without an account, sad and sexless. But then, Tinder changed their policy. You can now join without a Facebook account, and join I did, with my fingers ready to dive headfirst into the digital sex pool. And let me tell you what, Tinder is fucking terrible. It's the worst. You get nothing from this app. The profiles, they are empty garbage. Most people don't even bother to write a profile. They're mostly just like, look, I have 10,000 Instagram photos you could see. It's like, what the fuck? And now I gotta go to another site to find out about you? Fuck you. And all the profiles, when they do write them, they're all the same. Guess what they like? They like hiking and adventure. Adventure? You live in fucking Encino. What adventures are you going on? What bullshit is this? And that's when they have a profile. The pictures. Every girl in Los Angeles has been to Machu Picchu. There's always a photo of them in front of a fucking mountain. Every girl went there. And what about every girl has a picture of them with these terrible fucking angel wings? Where are these angel wings? Painted on the side of a building. Where is this building that every girl in Los Angeles has stood out in front of? And here's the other thing. Snapchat filters. They're all using Snapchat filters. I want to date a woman, not a half-human, half-dog, neo-lutionist nightmare. It's all like I go to things and it's like, look, I have bunny ears and a bunny nose. I would like to not have sex with a rabbit. Like, this is upsetting. And you know what? I'm expected on this site to come up with some witty, panty-dropping opening line like I'm some sort of master of none online dating guru. Well, let me tell you what, none of these women need anything from Whole Foods. I can't come up with a witty line like that. I'm sorry, I'm just not going. I'm going to say hello. I'm going to comment on something about you, and you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it, because who has time for this fucking shit? And that's why you, Tinder, and all the assholes who told me I need to be on Tinder or this week's enemy of the podcast, go fuck yourselves. I would delete this app, but it's like a fucking pigeon with the pellets. I sit there and I'm swiping and I'm like, what have I been doing for the past 20 minutes? It's sick. It's sick, and I am sick, and it's terrible. Andy, are you on Tinder? Are you on any dating apps?
I am not.
There you go. You're smart.
I am.
You're smart. Sean,
I can neither confirm or deny.
You're on every dating app. There hasn't been a dating app created you're not on.
What can I say? I get bored in the bathroom. I got to do something.
What do you think of Tinder?
Tinder has definitely cleaned up, I have to say, because you'd get matched constantly, and then they would message you, be like, hey, and you'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, I just got out of the shower, do you want to watch me? And then, no offense, but it would just be solicitations to watch.
I think I'm not swiping right on those people. And
no, it would be ones that they would actually have some, it'd be sneaky, because it'd be some stuff in the profile that wouldn't immediately look like a cam model, but they were. So
sorry,
they managed
no
to
offense to cam
No,
models.
but it was, you get your, like...
Wait, was it like a catfish? Or
a little bit, yeah, where it'd just be like, or, hey, I had a really bad experience on this site. I just need to verify your age. Can you go on this site and put in your credit card? They're not going to charge you anything. I just need to. It'll make me feel really safe if you do this.
So what happened after you did that?
You don't do that.
No, I'm kidding.
You report it as spam. So a lot of that's been cleaned up. But now you still get a lot of these photos of women that they have no information in their profile. You can kind of sniff out which are the fake ones now, too. Different apps are good for different things. Tinder, I could tell you actually, while traveling, Tinder is very useful to meet new people in town.
I started using it when I was in London.
Yeah.
And
I've actually made friends on Tinder from while traveling.
I matched with a lot of girls in London.
Yeah.
Guess where I'm not matching with a lot of girls? My hometown of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Again, apologies, Andy. London women are the best, obviously.
Clearly, but did you meet up with any of these girls?
No. But there was some circumstances as to why, and then one was like, let's meet up Sunday, and I'm like, I won't be in town. Let's meet
No,
up
you gotta
tonight.
put. That's why you
She's
put it
like,
in your profile. You'd be like, I'm only here till so and so.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Well, there you go, amateur.
Yeah, well, I was an amateur.
Yeah.
I have matched with a few people out here, but here's another thing I tend to notice, and maybe you could help me here, Andy. Maybe we could delve into the mind of a woman. So I've matched with a few people out here, and we start these really nice back and forth conversations. And after talking a little bit, we're on this site. I suggest like, hey, I would love to continue this conversation in person. Can I buy a coffee or a drink? And then they delete that profile, they disappear off the internet, or I don't know if you block people, they just go away. The second I ask them if they want to get together, they disappear as if this was not supposed to be the purpose of this app. Do just a lot of women online dating you think have cold feet, or what's going on here?
I don't know. If that was me, I probably escaped because you said something weird.
I said
you
nothing
might have
weird.
scared her.
I would show you the messages if they didn't delete when these people left. I would show them to you. They're not weird. They might be banal.
Here's what I've found. You have to be as not that I am threatening, but you have to just be as non-pushy as possible. I find just hey, I would love to, if you're comfortable. You just have
That's
to
what
be.
I'm saying.
And I've always. You always put it into their court. You always sort of let them dictate the terms
That's
of
what I did.
I don't know. I haven't seen the
I
messages
said,
because they
would
blocked and
you like
reported you.
to?
So I don't know.
I am messaging with one girl who I might get together with next week.
Okay.
But I sound thrilled about it, don't I?
Yeah, you can't wait.
I'm really thrilled.
But then also, my profile has silliness in it too, so it's obvious that I'm a big goofball.
I say in my Tinder profile, I say, you will not get a good opening Tinder line from me, and this is something we're both going to just have to learn to live with. So I let them know that, but because I don't want to... Andy, let me ask you this. You said you're not on any dating apps. In your line of work, do you date a lot?
Well, I charge for dates. So far I haven't gotten any because I charge a really big amount.
Wait, I meant your
Wait, what do you mean?
this is opening up another line of questioning I hadn't planned on going down. I literally meant oh, you meet a guy you like
At a concert.
or something. Are you dating are you dating a lot, or do you feel like guys might be off put by what you do?
I don't really like to talk about my job to other people.
There you go.
Everyone just thinks I work at a restaurant.
Okay.
So
if you met a guy who asked you out on a legitimate date, you would tell him you worked at a restaurant.
To start it off, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm kind of like Walter White. I have two separate lives.
Now, because it came up, I have to ask, what do you mean by charge for dates?
So on My4Chems, my website, I charge for strictly friendly dates where I just spend time with them for a day.
On the camera, in person?
In person.
Oh, really? But you said no one takes you up on that.
Not yet.
So far. Okay.
I'll put it a little lower the price for January.
And this is strictly friendly?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. Good to know.
I too charge for my time.
Yeah.
I've even invoiced Will for the end of this hour.
At the end of this, I owe you both a lot of money at the end of this podcast. Okay. We always like to end on a weird note, and we had a good weird one for you, but sometimes we're forced to end on a sad note. So we're going to end on a sad note. Because yesterday, of course, it'll be about a week once this episode comes up, but Tom Petty died, which was very sad. Sean, Tom Petty.
Yes, so Tom Petty's one of those musicians that you didn't realize that you knew all of his songs, but you did, and he also, you can't imagine not ever knowing his music. Rolling Stones, I didn't discover them until I was like in college. Even the Beatles, like I didn't really hear Beatles songs.
What?
It's a whole different conversation. But Beatles, but Tom Petty, I just always seemed to know his songs, and you would hear them. Maybe that was because they were more ubiquitous in movies and shows. But and he just always seemed really cool.
Well, I think also when, unlike some of the bands you just mentioned, when you and I were young,
Well, 'cause he
was
had-
when a lot of his big, he had some
Well,
big
his solo
come
hits. That's
out.
when he didn't even
Yeah.
hit it as a solo artist till the early '90s.
When he had
Into the
Free Fallin',
Free Fallin', Into the Great Wide Open. You know, some of his later stuff. But then, you know,
Don't Come Around Here No More.
exactly. And he just seemed to be a fixture on the radio, and
And on
just,
MTV.
which I didn't have growing up. So
Oh.
I'll take your word for that.
Okay.
And his songs are just like these perfect rock pop songs. And so many of the eulogies I read about him talked about how he grew up in this rock tradition, but somehow managed to he kept the party going in a weird way. You know, by that point, what was the Rolling Stones doing in the late 80s, 90s? Nothing. It was like him. And then in a strange way, he was like a bridge to... Not even a bridge. I'm sorry. I'm going to reframe that. It was like him and Bruce Springsteen kind of were the next generation of what rock was after that
After
first...
the Stones and Beatles.
Just to
and
that
stuff
first
like that.
wave in like the 60s and 70s. And it was interesting that, you know, he never broke through in the 80s with a number one hit album because Pink Floyd's The Wall kept cock-blocking him. And he couldn't get past, you know, he literally couldn't get past that wall. And then he had just played a concert last week in LA that I knew many people that had gone to, and they all said it was amazing, and then, you know, dead, you know, and
Yeah.
he died twice in one day.
I got to keep better track of when certain performers are performing
Yeah.
because he's someone, because after Bowie died, I was like, I'm going to see everyone I want to see whenever they come to town. And I would have loved to see Tom Petty, but I wasn't thinking, and I didn't even realize he had come to town.
Because we take these people for granted. The next thing you know, like, Prince is dead, Tom Petty's dead, you know, but...
I've been, ever since David Bowie died, I've been much more willing to spend $1 and go to a concert.
Well, you don't know what's going to Lord, you know, just may
We got tickets to that Lord concert.
Never know.
You never know what happens to Lord.
Yeah.
She could go out like Buddy Holly. She could die in a plane crash tomorrow.
Don't die tomorrow. I was going to go to your show.
I know. Die after next March when we have tickets to your concert.
Regina Spektor, too, you know.
I love Regina Spektor. And nobody's going crazy for that. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I just saw Blondie.
Yeah.
And that was a good show. You know, she'll be dead sooner rather than later. And I'll be upsetting.
And then there's always, you know, and then, like, I don't know, I think about what happens when, like, Bruce Springsteen dies or Bob Dylan dies or... But it's also sad because we talk about him for a week and then we move on.
We're still talking about... We've mentioned Bowie and Prince a lot still, though.
Okay.
Did you like Tom Petty? Did you enjoy the Tom Petty's music?
I liked his hits. You know,
Well,
but
most of his stuff was hits.
yeah, he had like a couple.
Is there somebody that you... Now that we're getting morbid about, like, musicians dying, is there somebody you've always wanted to see, a band or an individual you've always wanted to see, and it's like, I better go see them because they could be dead one day?
I really wanted to go see the Rolling Stones, but it was too expensive.
Yeah, I haven't seen them either. You said they weren't...
I saw them 15 years ago, and they were fine. To be fair, I was sitting in the absolute last row of Giant Stadium, and the show just felt very rehearsed. Like, I felt like I was watching a show that they were putting on, and they put on a million times. U2 is a band that I've never seen live, and they always come into town. I always miss them, and I go, oh, one of these days.
I'm going to say this. They always come to town. I like U2 enough, but if I never saw U2, I don't think I'd be upset. I'm not going to pretend I'm a giant U2 fan. I like a lot of their stuff, but I've never been like, I got to go to that U2. But I know I'm an aberration in that. I saw Paul McCartney at Dodger Stadium, and let me tell you what, that was
He'll be dead soon.
amazing. Have you ever seen Paul McCartney?
I have not seen it.
He comes to town, Sean. I'm telling you, spend the money.
All right.
Go see Paul McCartney. And go spend the money. Go see Paul.
I saw him for free.
You saw him for free? When did you see him for free?
Well, he was playing a concert in Hollywood, and
Was that the Kimmel thing?
yeah.
I went to that as well.
Oh, so
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, was this when he played, like, on the street?
Yep.
Was that good?
I was better when I had very close seats at Dodger Stadium. I was pretty far back but let me tell you, I don't know where your placement was in
I was actually because it was fenced up, and I was outside of the fence, and I was on my friend's shoulders the whole time.
But you know what was so funny about that? My buddy Chris Cernecca got because they were free tickets, but he got 2 tickets to it, and he's like, "Oh, come and we're in the." But yeah, you could have just stood on the opposite side of that fence and gotten the same show. You could have just walked up to the mall there at Hollywood and Highland and watched them. But you know what was amazing about that night and that performance? Just all of Hollywood Boulevard just kind of singing "Hey Jude" together. I mean, it's kind of, to be corny, it's kind of magical.
Rub it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, Andy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So tell everybody one more time where they can find you on Twitter, on MyCams, everywhere.
My free cams page is mfc.im/Andy_Moon, and my Twitter handle is @xvxandy.
And if you're a good listener of the podcast, you have been to her site, unless you live in California, because we will have a link to it on our Facebook page.
Okay. Cool.
Sean.
And you can find me at my free camps now. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at the Sean David. So follow me there.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. I've got no upcoming shows. I got to start booking some shows. And I got to, when we're done recording tonight, I have to call Megan Salinas to discuss some of the plans for the Lost podcast we're starting. Yes, because Lost, that show's relevant now. We're going to start a podcast about
going down the hatch again.
Yeah, going back down the hatch.
I watched that much of it. On the show next week.
On the show next week, we're working on booking some people who will eventually be on. We're just not sure the dates yet, so we don't want to commit, but we're gonna have
on Kevin Ice, who is he's been on the show. He was on the show 5 years ago. He was one of our first guests.
He was in the top 10 first guests.
Yeah. He is a music video director. He has done a bunch of really interesting stuff. He just came back from shooting a music video for a band whose name I should remember in Barcelona, and he'll tell us all about that. Definitely a crazy story from this shoot. And then we are also hoping to get Chris Burgock back.
We're working on booking Chris Burgock, the writer of the Florida Project you previously know as the writer of Tangerine. Andy, did you see Tangerine?
What was that about again?
That was about the 2 trans prostitutes who hang out on Santa Monica.
I saw that.
The guy who wrote that was on our show. And
we're going to talk about his new movie.
We want to talk about his new movie, The Florida Project, which looks like it's like Willem Dafoe and a whole bunch of kids living in a hotel in Florida.
Which was also the plot of the Boondock Saints, strangely enough.
So yeah, those are some upcoming people. But who will be on next week? Tune in to probably Kevin. Tune in to
maybe, or next time.
Yeah.
It may not be on next week. Just stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter. We'll give you all the updates.
Andy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys.
And for the Will Sean podcast, I'm Sean David.
I'm Will Link.
We're finished.
We're finished.